Welcome back to the channel. The guppies from last month are now being moved into the 40-gallon community breeder tank. There's also another group of babies that is being brought into the tank at the same time. I did these two test groups to make sure that I was allowing them enough time to grow so they wouldn't be eaten by the adults. And this is about the limit that you can go. They need to be about 14 millimeters in length at 1 month old. Unfortunately, the parents are used to me coming to the tank for feeding, so they're used to having only food being placed in the tank. So when I placed these guppies in, they of course thought it was food. To my surprise, some of them were swallowed up to the abdomen from the tail end. But then they were let go. So it did work out in the end. They did quickly find a place to hide, together as a group. In this way, the adults found it confusing to go after one fish, because as they targeted one fish, the whole group would move, and it makes it difficult for them to be caught. The baby fish are fed a combination of ground up flake and flake, and the adults get granules. They also get a mixture of freeze-dried tubifex worms and bloodworms, and I found an interesting trick with tubifex worms I'll show at the end of the video. If you hold a cube of tubifex worms underwater and squeeze the air out, you can then press it against the glass. It's a neat trick. You can get quite some good feeding footage this way. For the 3 tanks I have, I normally keep a pH of about 7.6 to 7.8 and about 7 to 9 degrees hardness, and a temperature between 76 and 78 during the summertime. This seems to suit them very well for breeding. It wasn't too long till the babies started testing the waters away from the group. The adults also got used to the babies being around and didn't chase after them. At about 3 days later, the guppy babies came out venturing and the parents no longer chased after them, and they all learned to get along together. The adults were now used to the fact that they couldn't catch the babies easily, and they just let them be alone. I'm starting out the project with a completely different mixed gene pool. That'll allow me to mix the genes well to get a good amount of different genes into the fish to start with, which will help me down in the process. I'm looking here for specially colored fish, and as time goes on and culls happen, the gene pool will begin to show this coloration as we go forward. It's important to note also here that before you put the babies in with the community, make sure they're at least 14 millimeters to 16 millimeters in length so they don't get attacked by the adults and eaten. Also remember that smaller female adults will have smaller babies, so you have to take that size into consideration. With this method I've used, which is putting the mother in her own 10-gallon tank, it seems to be getting a full-size adult, about 40 babies per batch. The 2 original groups were done mainly as a test, to make sure that the size I was putting in was adequate enough to prevent them from getting eaten. Once the 40 breeder tank is at capacity, I'll begin to cull the fish, and pull back the ones that I don't want and keep more of the ones I do want. At the point of the babies being 1 month to 1.5 month old now as they are, the gravid spot now starts to develop on some of the females at this 1 month old age, as you can see by the dark patch developing near the abdomen. I also developed a green water condition. When I tested to see if there was ammonia or nitrates present, the test was positive for nitrites, but negative for ammonia. There was about 0.125 parts per million of nitrites in the tank. This is probably because an additional load of having 80 babies and feeding the 80 babies in the tank had occurred. It took a couple of days for the green water to start to dissipate, but it's still to this day slightly green. I'm just going to leave it and not chase it and hope a little bit of water changing helps reduce it over time. I did try and do a small water change. It was 2.5 gallons, and I did reduce the light by about half of what it was from 16 hours back to 8. So hopefully that'll help as well. Enjoy the rest of the video and we'll see you next time.